Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Erin Schwartz, and I'm the B2B Marketing Manager at iHire, coming at you live today from my spare bedroom, which I know is still the case for many of us as we're still, many of us still working remotely. So I would like to welcome you to today's webinar, How to Build Your Employer Brand in 8 Steps. In a moment, I'm going to turn it over to our speaker, Laurie Ballow, Business Development Manager at iHire. A bit of background on Laurie. She has been with iHire for 10 years, where she is known as a Swiss Army knife, having filled a variety of roles from career coaching and writing resumes to employer sales, product management, and business development. Given her extensive experience working with candidates and employers, she brings a solid understanding of the job search and recruiting process from both perspectives. A couple things before we get started. We'll be answering attendee questions at the end of our presentation, so feel free to submit a question at any time using the Q&A tool at the bottom of your screen. And remember to keep an eye out tomorrow for a follow-up email with a recording of the webinar. And with that, I'll turn it right over to Laurie.
Thank you, Erin, and thanks everyone for being here. This session is going to feel a little bit like a marketing class. And the reason for that is that if you want to sell your employer brand to attract top talent, you need to think and act like a marketer as well as an HR professional. So we're going to show you how to do that. And to get started, we want to give you some, eventually we're going to give you some really actionable strategies, but for now, let's start with the poll. So the question is, do you have an employer brand? You'll see a survey pop up on your screen. Okay, that was actually kind of a trick question, because if you have any employees at all, you have a brand, you have an employer brand. Okay, so you may not have intentionally created it, but you do have one. So the goal here is to be intentional and to start building your brand, to using your HR and marketing skills, and to be able to attract that top talent. Okay, so next slide, Erin. What is an employer brand anyway? Well, your employer brand is how others think of you as an employer. Think of it as your reputation and your personality as an employer. So job seekers have an idea of your employer brand, but so do your current employees and the public at large for that matter. It's separate from your corporate brand, but it is related in that it should still reflect your mission and your core values. It's not just for large companies. I know a lot of us think, oh, well, that's not for me because I only have a handful of employees, or, you know, we're only 20 or 30. You still have an employer brand and you still want to build it and improve it and then use it in your recruitment marketing efforts. And something I heard at a conference last year, which I really liked, really spoke to me, is that as an employer, you want to win over the hearts and minds of qualified talent. So you really want them to connect with you and be able to picture themselves working for you. And then through recruitment marketing, you can really promote your brand throughout the process, from the time you put out a job ad and through the candidate journey, through interviewing and so forth. So next slide. Why do you need a strong employer brand? First of all, so that you attract the right talent, right? It's going to streamline your recruiting if you're attracting the right people, if you're actually reaching those folks that you want to hire. It's going to help with employee retention, because if you are a good place to work with a strong employer brand, people are going to be happier, right? They're going to be more engaged, morale's going to be up, and they're going to want to stay with you for the long term. It's also going to help you to build credibility internally and externally. So, you know, people want to do business with companies who treat their employees well. It's also going to help to support the broader marketing efforts and support your corporate brand overall. Next slide, please. So we now understand the what and the why. Let's learn how to build your brand in 8 steps. Next slide, please. You're going to start by auditing what you're doing today or not doing today, right? What messages are you sending? So look at your content, look at your website, great place to start, and your career pages, and see are they reflecting what kind of a workplace you are? I'm sure they tell the story of what you do as a company, the products and services that you sell, but is it showing what your core values and mission are? Is it showing what it's like to work for you? Why would somebody want to work there? Reflecting your core values and your mission is super important, because nowadays people really want to work for a company whose values align with their own. And that's just more important now than ever. You also want to make sure that your job ads and descriptions are showing what it's like a day in the life. You want people to be able to picture they're working there, so you want to share with them the things they're going to be doing and so forth. We're going to drop a link here on best practices for writing a job ad, but I'm going to get into a lot more detail later on in the session as well. So you want to look also at your social media and so forth, those sites. And then check out Glassdoor and Indeed, because that's where you can really monitor your reputation. What are people saying about you? If you haven't done that already, go check it out and do so on a regular basis. You might have a disgruntled former employee, or you might just not be doing something quite right that's not resonating with people and they're going to report it. I can let you know that most candidates coming in for an interview will have checked those out. So you just want to be aware. And then seek employee feedback. This is super, super important, okay? So you want to understand what employees are feeling about your workplace. Anonymous surveys are a great place to start, and I recommend about once a month. Don't do it just once a year. That is simply not enough. And I think that's what a lot of companies, you know, in the past had done, is just one employee feedback survey a year. We use a really cool little automated tool. It's called Office Vibe, and I'm not promoting any particular product because there are tons of apps out there and there are a lot of great ones. But this is fun because it's kind of cartoony and light and easy to engage with, and it just takes a second. Every few weeks you get this thing in your email, asks you maybe 4 or 5 questions, and completely anonymous. So you can be honest, and our company is super transparent, so we can even see the results of those surveys, and we can see where we need to do some work and where people are, you know, overjoyed. The other thing you can do is conduct stay interviews. So why are your happy employees happy? What are they saying about what keeps them here? And at the same time, they may, if there's trust there, they may share with you why they're not so happy and things you could do to improve. And then also conduct exit interviews. So when somebody is leaving voluntarily, why are they leaving? What's better? Why is the grass greener? And then you could go back over past exit interviews and see if there's a pattern, and that's going to, you know, give you some insights. Okay, next slide, please. You want to define your ideal candidate. If you are going to market to these folks and you're going to sell them something, you need to understand who they are and how to speak to them, right? So think about what type of traits these candidates have. What kind of candidate is going to thrive in your organization and be able to contribute for the long term? What characteristics do they have? What hard and soft skills are you looking for? I would encourage you, I know we all have a list of must-haves and nice-to-haves, and so often I see this long laundry list of must-haves because you don't have time to train and you want somebody to hit the ground running. You need a turnkey candidate to come in and roll with it. We all want that, right? But it's not always realistic, and you might be missing out on some really great folks who have stronger soft skills. And a lot of employers, 70% employers say that soft skills are the most important thing. So, you know, you can't train personality, you can't train work ethic, you can't train adaptability, flexibility, getting along with others, that kind of thing. And plus that super long list of requirements can be off-putting and you might miss out on some folks. So just really try to refine that list. Think about your ideal candidate and their career goals, their interests and motivations, and then also think about where you might find them. Where are they hanging out? Where are they looking? And then you can try to get your message out to those places. Okay, Erin, next slide, please. So you want to develop a powerful EVP. What is an EVP? It's your employee value proposition. Just as you would have one for a service or a product, you want to have one as your employer brand. So it's a statement that conveys why people want to work for you. What makes you different? What makes you special? How are you different or better than your competitors? And how can you get folks to apply for your job instead of your competitor's job? And some of the things you want to consider are your workplace culture, the benefits that you offer, your core values again, the work environment, and your community involvement, things that you do outside the office. I talk to a lot of employers, especially small employers or nonprofits, who say, we don't really have a culture, or we don't have competitive salaries, we don't offer a robust benefit package. What in the world can we do to attract talent? Well, there are so many things you can do that don't cost, either they don't cost much money or they don't cost any money. Employee recognition, when people do a good job, there are all kinds of creative ways you can show appreciation and recognition. You can have games and contests. You can even do things through Zoom. You can volunteer in your community. Also, a huge one is growth. One of the reasons people leave jobs is because they feel stagnant and they're not growing. So you can offer continuing ed. It doesn't have to be college courses. It can be online, inexpensive courses. You can have workshops. You can have guest speakers. Go to your chamber. A lot of times there are free things that your chamber offers. So these are some things you can do to be creative, to really boost your culture and make your employees feel supported and valued. Okay, next slide, please. So here are some examples. HubSpot, I'm going to read these to you. Sorry about that. We're dedicated to building an inclusive culture where employees can do their best work. Feedback, research, and our own employees show that the #1 way to do this is by being flexible. Giving HubSpotters the freedom and flexibility to create their own work-life balance builds trust in our company, but it's also just the right thing to do. That's why flexibility is at the core of our benefits and culture, from family planning to financial planning. And then Google's, there's no one kind of Googler, so we're always looking for people who can bring new perspectives and life experiences to our teams. If you're looking for a place that values your curiosity, passion, and desire to learn, if you're seeking colleagues who are big thinkers, eager to take on fresh challenges as a team, then you're a future Googler. Now those are big brands, right? And you might not actually connect with those. You might not relate to that at all because you feel like you're in a different league. So iHire, we have under 100 employees. I think we're at like 60 right now, so that might be more relatable. Here's ours. Named one of Inc. magazine's best workplaces for 2020, iHire is an employer of choice. Located in Frederick, Maryland and Angola, Indiana, both offices boast unique employee perks, as well as a great organizational culture based on a shared mission and mutual respect. iHire is a growth-focused company, and we pride ourselves on being transparent, collaborative, accountable, innovative, committed, and optimistic. In fact, those are our core values. And all true, I gotta tell you, all true. So hopefully that gives you some inspiration, and I'm gonna move this over, gives you some inspiration in writing your own. So we're ready to move on, Erin. Your EVP is only as good as the evidence you can provide to back it up, okay? If it's not true, it's not gonna do you any good. So you want to curate some materials, some evidence to back up your employer value prop. So one of the greatest and most powerful tools is a company video and employee testimonials. Now, a lot of us have company videos that just show what our company does, but you really want one that's focused on employment, working for your company. And one of the greatest things you can do is to interview your employees and include testimonials. And let me tell you what, it doesn't need to be fancy and slick and highly produced. Use your phone, okay? You can just go around, talk to your employees about why they love working here. If it's unscripted and it's natural, that means it's authentic and genuine, and people are going to connect with it and buy it. They're going to be able to see themselves in that job a lot easier. So don't be intimidated by costs or time, because you can do this quite simply. And also show people on the job, show people in working with customers out in the community, on the floor, whatever, all those things to really depict your workplace. Include photos of events and recognition and the things you're doing. Include blog posts, thought leadership articles, your award logos and recognition. You know, we included ours in our value prop, and we've received quite a few, so we like to get our mileage out of those. And any media, any positive media or press coverage you have, you would certainly want to include them. Okay, moving on. So some of the areas where you can promote your EVP would be all these, obviously your website and career pages and your social media sites, right? But there's also this list here of other places you can promote it and keep a continuous message. Don't forget about your internal sites and your intranets, because your employees, you want them to be proud of their workplace. You want to continue to reinforce this. And so that's a really great channel to put it out as well. And then you want to think about the different stages of the candidate journey and how you're talking to candidates from the time they apply for a job. You might speak to them a little differently than if they are on your career page reviewing interview tips, for instance. Okay, next page, please. And be sure to tap your employees for help. Remember that your employees are absolutely your greatest brand advocates. If they love their job, they're going to talk about it, and word of mouth is really powerful, right? So when I ask employers who or where their best employees came from, 90% of the time they're telling me they were referrals. So in order to leverage that, I would encourage your staff to share your job postings on social, share videos and images from company events, share your awards, that kind of thing, because if they're sharing this type of content, they're endorsing your company, right? And that's going to help you to generate referrals. I feel like I keep talking about iHire, but this is my experience. So we have a really strong culture of referrals. We've been really fortunate because people love to work here. So we've got husband and wife teams. We've got childhood friends. We have former coworkers, and we also have parents and children. And my own kid works for us. So this is how you can help to cultivate that. And you can have rewards, but it's not necessary at all. Okay, next. So now that you have a better grasp of your employer brand, the candidate persona, and your EVP, you can start incorporating these in elements throughout the process, right? So you're going to start with your EVP, what it's like to work there. You want to sell your job just like you would sell a product, right? So you start with that EVP, and then you want to get into details. Did I say job ads? I don't even think I mentioned job ads. I'm sorry, train of thought. So this is in writing your job ads. So you want to include that EVP, and then you also want to describe what it's like to work there, describe your culture, and really kind of illustrate a day in the life. What are people going to be doing? What are they going to be learning? What are they going to accomplish? Who are they working with? And how can they grow? Again, growth is so important because people leave jobs for being stagnant. So you want to make sure that you're showing, even if it's not an upward trajectory and in a traditional sense, show how they can grow. And I can't think of the word I want, but you know what I'm saying. So all those kinds of details, it's not just about what you're looking for, the traits and the must-haves and the nice-to-haves, but really here's what we're offering you. Make it about the candidate. Then of course include your branding elements, your logo at the very least, but I would encourage you to include the video and social channels as well, if you can. Okay, and the next step is remember that it's not just about the content you're putting out there, it's about the candidate experience and how you're treating them throughout this process, right? A poor candidate experience could damage your brand. A good employee experience could help. Even if somebody doesn't get hired, they still had a good experience. They're going to feel good about you as an employer, as well as your brand and your products and services. So some of the things you can do to ensure a positive candidate experience, first of all, first and foremost, be fair, right? So you want to be an equal opportunity employer, but also include that in your job ads. So they've done studies and they found that job ads that actually say that you're an equal opportunity employer get better applications and more applications. So that's really important. Be sure to demonstrate diversity and inclusion throughout and try to remove unconscious bias as much as you can. Secondly, fast applications. There's like 95% drop-off rate in applicant tracking systems. And why is that? Because how do most people apply? With their phone, right? So try filling out a 30-minute application on your phone. That's no fun at all. So you're going to lose a lot of folks that way. Try to keep your applications down to 10 minutes or less. Less is more. You can always go back through a second pass and get the additional information after you have a short list. And then the other thing is, the number one complaint from job seekers is the black hole. They apply for jobs and then they never hear back. This has been going on for the 10 years that I've been in this space. And it didn't go away when it was a candidate's market and employers were having trouble finding talent. They still weren't hearing back. Sometimes people even go on interviews and don't hear back. So I strongly encourage you to be courteous, let people know where they are in the process. If they're no longer in the running, even if it's an automated message, that's okay. Just let them know. And then if something is on hold or postponed, you know, that kind of thing is good as well. If they're still in the running, but it's delayed somehow, that's a great thing to let them know and set expectations whenever possible. So if I didn't say it already, one of the things you want to remember is that, did I already say it? If we don't always remember what people say, but we always remember how they feel. So just keep that in mind throughout this process. Some of the things you can offer is helpful resources, interview tips, useful company information. If they're coming in for an interview, let them know where to park. If it's going to be virtual, let them know, you know, that it is going to be on Zoom or whatever. Let them know what entrance to come in, maybe even what to wear. I know a lot of times I've had, as a hiring manager, I've had folks call me and ask me what to wear. Is it business casual? Do I wear a full suit? Just some tips would help to alleviate some of their anxiety. Also, next steps in the hiring process. And once you have made an offer and somebody has accepted it, consider sending a welcome gift before they come on board. You can either have it on their desk when they show up, or if it's a remote job, send it to them in advance. It might be a little bag of swag, even if it's just pens and notepads, or you know, a coffee card. Those kinds of things go a long way. And then make sure you have a solid onboarding plan with specific goals and expectations. So once they arrive, they will see exactly what you expect of them, what they're going to be doing. Maybe show them, here's what you're going to get done the first week and the first month and the first 3 months. And that really goes a long way. Next slide, please. And finally, you want to measure your success, right? This is not a one and done initiative. This is ongoing. It's going to evolve over time. So these are some KPIs you can measure. You don't need to do all of them. They might not all be practical for your organization, but make sure that you do have some things in place so that you know how you're doing. Things are going to change, and look, this COVID is a perfect example, right? Everybody's had to pivot and do things differently. So you can actually reflect in your job ad ways in which you have pivoted, ways in which you are keeping your employees safe, how you are implementing safety measures exceeding compliance, how you are changing the way you do business. Maybe you have you know, changed your focus or changed the way you actually deliver your goods and services. These are all things you want to share because it shows that you care. It's going to make employees feel cared for and protected. It's also going to show that you had the foresight and the agility to be a survivor. So those are the kinds of the things that you want to do, and you want to keep it going. Next slide, please, Erin. So you're going to continue to gather employee testimonials and solicit those positive reviews. Don't forget past employees as well. Conduct your monthly employee surveys. Be sure to apply for the awards and recognize workplace excellence. And then enlist marketing for support, because we know you're not marketers, but marketers can help you with a lot of this. They can help you to apply for those awards, how to get press out there. They can help you to write materials. It's really a collaborative effort if you have the benefit of a marketing department. And then make sure that you are reflecting your employer brand in everything you do. Have that evidence, get those things in place, and don't just talk the talk, you've got to walk the walk. So that includes our 8 steps to employer branding. I'm going to turn it over to Erin, and then we'll have a quick review of what you learned, as well as we'll field some Q&A. So Erin, back to you.
Thanks, Laurie. So just a recap for those 8 steps to help build your employer brand. First, you want to conduct an audit of your current employer brand efforts. You want to work together as a team to define your ideal candidate, develop a powerful EVP, create supporting content and proof points to support that content, promote that EVP across your different channels, tag your employees for help, revisit your recruitment process, and finally, figure out which KPIs make the most sense for your team to measure success. All right, I'm going to stop sharing for just a moment as we move into the Q&A. All right, Laurie. Candidates are hesitant to apply for my jobs due to COVID. How can I use my employer brand to build trust and get them to apply?
Well, as I alluded to a few minutes ago, you certainly want to convey any of the safety measures that you've put in place. How are you keeping your employees and your customers safe? That's super important. I think you want to be empathetic and genuine to show that you truly care. And also, you might even want to think about folks who are working there. Let them provide testimonials that they do, in fact, feel safe.
A former employee was laid off and left a very negative review on one public review site. How do I handle this? Should I be worried that it will deter future applicants?
Yes, you should be concerned, because nobody wants a bad review, right? One of the things you can do is ask your current employees to write positive reviews. You kind of want to dilute that bad review, so get a flood of really good ones. And that'll definitely help. That's the main thing I'm thinking of. Oh, Google Alerts. You could always do alerts to let you know when somebody's talking about you online, and that can also help. That way you can at least keep your finger on the pulse and know what your reputation is doing.
I really don't have time to focus on employer branding. I'm a one-person HR department. What can I do to strengthen my employer brand that requires minimal time and cost?
Well, I think I gave you a lot of examples of things that you can do. Work closely with your employees, really speak to them, build trust, understand what they like, what they don't like. And then some of the things that don't cost a lot of money and don't take tons and tons of planning. Recognition doesn't take a lot of planning and doesn't cost anything, and it just goes such a long way to promoting employee engagement and dedication to their job. Games, we do some Zoom happy hours, and we play bingo, or we play trivia, things like that. It's free, everybody has fun, it's bonding. And then volunteering in the community. Even if you don't have a ton of time to devote yourself, you can appoint somebody on the team to, organize this. Have a social committee. You don't need to own it all.
How do I communicate my brand to my employees?
Well, I can tell you what we do at iHire is we have our mission statement and our core values all over the place. So it's posted on our website, it's posted on our walls. We talk about it, we hire and fire by it, we live and die by our core values. We recognize people, we have a recognition tool where we can recognize each other when we demonstrate these values. And I feel like that really, so we're all super aware of what our values are and very cognizant that we're living those values.
How is an EVP different from a mission statement?
Well, an EVP is about you as an employer, and a mission statement is about the whole organization. Is that clear?
Yes, thank you. How long should my EVP be?
Well, you want to think about it as like an elevator pitch, so you don't want it to be terribly long. You've got to be able to communicate it verbally as well as in writing. So 1 or 2 sentences or a paragraph is plenty. You know, you saw the examples that we provided.
My company is in a hiring freeze currently, COVID related, but I want us to be thinking about these steps for the future. How do I get buy-in from my hiring managers and HR team when actual hiring isn't a focus for us right now?
Well, I think you want to get some examples of companies that have been successful launching these things. I think you can also explain that it doesn't have to cost a lot of money and resources to do this. Show evidence of companies that have, you know, even the EVPs that I shared, show what other companies are doing with their career pages and so forth. And you've got to convey the benefits, right? Not just, hey, I want to do this thing, but here's how it can help us. Here's how we can connect with the talent out there. And you might even want to go to your competitors and say, look, here's what our competitors are doing. So if we're not, we're falling behind.
How do I check bad reviews with a Google alert?
I'm not the person to ask that question. Erin, can you answer that question?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. You can actually set them up for free if you just go to google.com/alerts. And then from there, it's a really intuitive interface. You can type in your company name or, you know, any related term, and then you can set how frequently you want Google to send alerts straight to your inbox of how often those terms come up.
Thank you. I never actually did it. I just knew it was a thing.
How long do reviews stay on Indeed and Glassdoor? Do they fall off after a while?
I'm not sure the answer of that, honestly. I feel that I've seen reviews that were definitely, you know, several years old when I've investigated companies, but I don't know if there's a hard and fast policy of when those things fall off.
Yeah, as far as I know, I think they stay on forever.
All the more reason to have more recent reviews so that they fall down on the list.
Definitely.
Great questions, you guys.
I have a lot of applicants, but no one responds to phone calls, emails, messaging, or anything when I try to contact them for interviews. Any ideas on what I can do?
If they're not responding, they're probably not your people, because you do want people to respond, right? I would say, you know, hopefully you're trying, you did say you're trying these different channels. Remember that people respond to different channels, right? So try texting. If you haven't tried texting, I actually, as a hiring manager, experienced that where I wasn't getting responses from email, because a lot of times younger people don't look at their email. So I started texting, made all the difference in the world. I would say that's the best. Also, think about where are your ideal candidates, and are you finding them in the right place, because maybe they just aren't the right candidates. I don't know for sure that that's the case, but different channels is the way to go, and sometimes it takes more than one. I used to have kind of a one and done. I'm going to try once, and if you're not interested, then I'm moving on. And I realized that that was not the best policy. So sometimes you have to be persistent.
How can I align my recruitment brand with my employer brand?
Well, again, I think it's your mission, your core values. It's also the tone and the voice that you use. This is why it's really good to have your marketing team join you if you can, because they understand how to keep that voice consistent through the different channels. And I think they can really help a lot. If you don't have that benefit, then really just stick with your core values and your mission, and that's going to help you to carry that theme throughout.
All right, I think, oh, looks like we've got another one.
This is awesome, tons of questions.
I know. In the last week, I have set up 5 interviews for a lead carpenter position. And for different reasons, the candidates have canceled. Any tips on how to avoid this?
Well, I can tell you this is a thing, right? So employers are kind of getting paid back for all the black hole and not getting back to people. So ghosting is actually a big thing now, and not just for hourly workers. It's the whole way up. Employers are seeing this a lot. So I would say make sure you confirm. You might even need to confirm a couple times, or confirm by phone as well as, by a voicemail, as well as by email, maybe text. Look, a carpenter is out in the field, right? So they're not necessarily checking their email, but they might respond to a text. Hey, just checking, are you still going to be here tomorrow at 10? And maybe it didn't work out. Maybe they had a job to do and they said, I'm going to take this job, I'm going to miss the interview. Unfortunately, they didn't have the courtesy to let you know, but maybe just clarify, is this time still working for you? Maybe you'd rather come in next week, or, tomorrow.
All right, I think that wraps up all our questions. Thank you again, everyone, so much for joining us. If anything else comes to mind, or you have any other questions about iHire or recruiting, feel free to shoot an email over to Laurie at laurieballow@ihire.com. Stay tuned for details of our upcoming employer webinar next month, which is going to be around the importance of talent pipelining. And for more employer branding resources, you can always check out our Employer Resource Center at the URL below. And again, we will be sending out an email tomorrow with a presentation as well as a copy of the slides. Thank you again so much, everyone, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.